Well, I have the distinct honor today to introduce our district governor, David Stocks, and his wife, Frances. David is a native of Montreal, and he graduated from the Royal Military College of Canada in 1963 with a degree in electrical engineering. He served in the Signal Corps for 3 years in Kingston, Ontario, and Calgary, Alberta. After that, apparently he got tired of sleeping out in tents and at minus 40 degrees temperature, so he said there's a better way to make a living. Anyway, he joined IBM's data center in Calgary, and after a few years he left to operate a series of small businesses in Kamloops and Edmonton. Later, with a large consulting company, he sold and provided management consulting services in Edmonton, the Seattle area, and several states in the U.S. Frances is a native of Victoria. She graduated from Ottawa Civic Hospital School of Nursing in 1964 and married David the same year. From that union, they have a son, a daughter, and a granddaughter. David first joined Rotary in Kamloops, BC in 1969, where he served as treasurer, secretary, and president. After moving to Edmonton, his new job and young family made attendance difficult, so he dropped out of Rotary for a while. He rejoined Rotary in 1998 and joined the Souk Club. He served as chair of the auction committee, treasurer, president, and also served on several boards and commissions in the Souk area. He is currently a member of the Rotary Club of West Shore, that's in Victoria, and he's a Paul Harris Fellow and a benefactor. So please help me welcome our district governor, David Stocks.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Now, I haven't the slightest idea how this microphone works. Is it working okay now? Okay. Seems to be a sensitive one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here for the annual district governor's visit. All over the world right now, there are 530 newly minted district governors, more or less like me, talking to 34,000 Rotary clubs, more or less like yours, average smaller, of course, and 1.2 million Rotarians, more or less like you. And it's an interesting ritual. It's kicking off a new Rotary year, which started on the 1st of July. There's two important duties I have. The first is to bring greetings from the president of Rotary International, a chemical engineer named Kalyan Banerjee, to remind you that you are part of an international fellowship, network fellowship of 1.2 million people, and that you're part of it. There must be people in this room who've made up, gone to Rotary meetings in foreign countries. Is that true? Must be quite a few. And I'm sure there are quite a few Rotarians from foreign countries who have come here. And by the way, Canada doesn't count as a foreign country in this context. And that I hope you do feel that connection, because there's 34,000 clubs you can visit all around the world and be welcomed. The second part of the district governor's responsibilities and his official visit is to talk about the annual theme of the Rotary International President. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but we have this screaming yellow banner over here. And the theme is written in letters too small for you to read, but it is reach within to embrace humanity. It's an interesting theme, I think. The second part is quite easy to, relatively easy to understand. All over the world, a hug or an embrace is recognized as an indication of caring, comforting, and connection. And if you look at photographs, or particularly videos of Rotarians anywhere in the world doing works of service, you'll probably see a hug being given and received. We do quite a bit of hugging in Rotary. And even if in our particular act of service, we're not actually giving and receiving a hug, I'm sure that the beneficiaries of our acts of service will feel comforted and connected and cared for. So I think that's a pretty easy way to understand embrace humanity. And if you look at the logo on that flag, and you might have seen it before, of course, There's all kinds of symbolic arms, and that's what we do. We embrace humanity. The reaching within part is, I think, a little bit more complicated. I think it indicates that you have to reach within your mind for a service project idea, and you have to reach within your heart for the courage to push your idea forward. If it's a good idea, you've got to get allies to support you. You might have to get your club to support you. You might have to get your district to support you, and as Warren can tell you, sometimes you have to get Rotary Internationals to support you, or the Rotary Foundation, that is. But it's more than just having an idea. You have to turn it into action. Okay. Let me give you an example of a service project idea that was turned into action. To do this, I'm going to talk about a hat. This hat, actually. It's been sort of tradition that the district governor has a hat. Does anybody remember Brian Beagle's tri-cornered hat a few years ago? And Bob Martin had a cowboy hat. This is a chuyo. It's the kind of hat used in the mountains of Peru. And this was given to me at a time when I just happened to be the president of the Rotary Club of Kamloops. I'd like to tell you the story. Well, in 1973, there were avalanches in the mountains of Peru, and in one villages were damaged, and in one particular village, the school was swept away. Fortunately, not when people were in it. Well, outside the mountains, there was a sizable town, and in the town there was a Rotary Club. So the Rotarians went up into the mountains to talk to the villagers and say, how can we help? And in one particular village, the leadership said, we'd like our school rebuilt. Okay, fine. The Rotarians took that news back to their club. Their club told their district told Rotary International. Rotary International told all kinds of other districts around the world. There's a whole bunch of projects needed doing in Peru, including in this one village, building the school. Well, I was in District 506, which goes from Yakima, Moses Lake, Ephrata, and all that, up to hundreds of miles up into Canada, to Kamloops, where I was. And our district headquarters sent the news out to all the clubs in our district, including the Rotary Club of Kamloops, and it was announced. And for some reason, reasons I will never understand, my friend Mel Pepper decided that we should rebuild the schools in that village in Peru. Okay, he went to our International Service Committee and he pitched this idea. And some money was allocated. And then he went to International Service Committees of all neighboring clubs, and they all threw in $500,000, whatever. And then the district spread the word, and lots of clubs were throwing in a few hundred, a few $1,000s. And Mel was sort of creating a fund to rebuild the school. He didn't get as much money as he wanted. So on one memorable occasion, we were told that the meeting had been moved from this hotel where we normally met to the high school gym. And we approached the high school gym, we paid the usual fee for lunch, and we got a glass of orange Kool-Aid and a free hamburger, a donated hamburger from the local McDonald's franchisee. And in that hamburger, the patty was about this big, approximately the same size as the slice of bread and butter pickle that was sitting on it. And most of us said, oh, well, that's just Mel, he's squeezing us for money. But quite a few of the Rotarians of long standing, shall I say, were sort of grumpy. I paid for a whole meal and all I got is a stinking hamburger. And they were quite unpleasant to Mel. But he just smiled and shrugged it off because he had a purpose for the money. Well, anyway, he eventually got a bunch of money together, and our district sent it to Rotary International, where it was doubled up. They sent it down to Peru, to the district down there. The district down there gave it to the club. The club hired people, and the school got rebuilt. Now, when it was obvious that the school was going to be rebuilt, the word came all the way back up to Kamloops, to Mel, because everybody knew he was the push behind this school. And he was invited to go to the grand opening, but he couldn't afford to go. It was very expensive, certainly in terms to get down to Peru, much more expensive than it is now. But another fellow from the club could get down there and did go, and came back with lovely photographs of the celebration, the grand opening of this school. Actually, it was two little buildings, two little concrete block buildings, one for girls, one for boys. Rotary logo on each one. And the villagers are gathered around, and a few Rotarians looking completely out of place in suits and things, and the mayor making a speech and the Rotary Club president making a speech. It was just wonderful pictures of this grand opening. And so my friend brought back gifts, including this gift to whoever happened to be the president of Mel Pepper's club. By the way, it's too small for me to wear. But it is one of my most cherished possessions. So there's an idea of a service project backed up by quite a bit of heart and push that got completed. What if you reach within your mind for a service project idea and come up empty-handed? Where do you go for inspiration? Let me recommend to you the district website and the monthly district newsletter. Both of those instruments are full of little stories about Rotarians like yourself and what they're doing to make a better world. You might get quite a bit of inspiration there. You can also get a whole bunch of inspiration by coming to the annual district conference. The next district conference is in Victoria, June 22, 3, 4, this coming spring. And there will be some inspirational speakers, some of which have already been lined up. And in particular, there'll be a room more or less the size of this room in which there will be a table for every one of the 88 clubs in our district. And we hope that every Rotary Club will be represented on their table having a display about their projects, a display about what they have done and how they did it, maybe. The idea is not to brag about what you have done, but to inspire others. We'd like a whole bunch of people to see what your club has done and say, if they can do that, we can do it. That's the purpose of being there. So I do hope you will be there with displays about your projects. Now, there's also the international dimension of Rotary. Cliff Docterman is a very interesting fellow, a very humorous speaker who was president of Rotary International about 20 years ago. After his presidential year, when he traveled all over the world meeting Rotarians and whatnot, he came to the conclusion, and these are his words, the vast majority of Rotarians do not have the slightest clue what Rotary International is about or what it is doing. Not the slightest clue. Those are his words. And it's a shame. It's a shame, by the way, that people might not understand Rotary International. But it can be a tremendous source of inspiration for service project ideas as well. You can go to the Rotary International website, and there's lots of photographs and videos and little stories about what Rotarians are doing. You get the monthly Rotarian magazine, the Rotarian, which is, once again, full of inspirational stories about what Rotarians are accomplishing around the world. You can also go to the Rotary International Convention. The next one is in Bangkok, May 6 through 9, this coming spring. And it's going to be quite interesting. It's going to be a bit of a struggle getting there financially, of course, with the price of airplane tickets, but the conference